My 19-year-old brother Alan revealed a family secret at a baby shower, uncovering identity theft and lies. I never thought a baby shower could turn into a full-blown family nightmare, but here we are. My brother, Alan, just 19, has always been a bit of a wild card. Smart, impulsive, and endlessly curious. He somehow always ends up in situations he can't fully control. Last Saturday, at my cousin Jenny's house in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, that curiosity collided with disaster. The house was decked out in pastel blues and yellows. Balloons floated lazily above the living room, and a table groaned under the weight of cupcakes, finger sandwiches, and gifts wrapped in soft tissue paper. My mom, Claire, was running around with a clipboard, making sure everything looked perfect, while my Aunt Karen fussed over the mom to be like she was a royal guest. I was helping Alan hang a banner, mostly to keep him from spilling red wine on the carpet like last time. Alan, for once, was quite too quiet. He kept fiddling with his phone, a strange look on his face. "What's up with you?" I asked, nudging him. "Nothing, just checking something," he muttered, not meeting my eyes. Jenny's friends and family started gathering for the games, and someone suggested we'd do the Guess the Baby's Weight contest. That's when Alan excused himself, claiming he had to use the restroom, but instead he disappeared down the hallway where my Uncle Mark keeps his office. A few minutes later, I heard muffled voices, and curiosity got the better of me. I peeked around the corner and saw Alan holding some papers, staring at them like he'd seen a ghost. "What the hell are you doing?" I whispered sharply. Alan jumped, almost dropping the folder. "This isn't what it looks like," he said, voice shaking. But it was exactly what it looked like. Those papers weren't just any documents, they were personal files with names, dates, and signatures that didn't belong to him but somehow had his information linked. Identity theft. And worse, it looked like someone in our family had been using Alan's details without him knowing. I could see the panic in his eyes. "Oh my god, I can't believe this," he muttered, voice trembling. I tried to calm him down, but before I could, my mom appeared in the doorway. "Anne, what are you doing?" He froze. I knew in that second that the secret wasn't staying hidden for long, and judging by the look on Mom's face, this was about to explode right in the middle of the baby shower. Jenny was laughing in the background, oblivious to the storm brewing just a few steps away. And then Alan, my brother, blurted out the words that would shatter the afternoon. "You've been stealing my identity, Mark, all this time." The room went silent. The room went completely silent, and for a moment I thought someone might have fainted. My Uncle Mark, usually the calmest guy at family gatherings, turned a peculiar shade of red. "What are you talking about, Alan?" he asked, voice deceptively steady. "I'm talking about these," Alan said, waving the folder in the air. Papers fluttered to the floor like fallen leaves, each one a proof of something we didn't want to believe. All the bank accounts, utility bills, even social media profiles. Someone's been using my identity, and it's you. My mom gasped, clutching her pearls like she was watching a soap opera. "Mark, is this true?" she demanded. Mark's jaw tightened. "Alan, I think you're overreacting. Maybe you misread something." "Misread?" Alan cut him off, voice rising. "Do you see these numbers? My name, my birthday, my signature. You've been pretending to be me for years." Jenny, standing near the gift table with a plate of sandwiches in her hand, froze mid-bite. Her face went pale. "Wait, Alan, are you saying my dad?" The tension hit me like a sucker punch. Mark had been Jenny's father figure for as long as I could remember. She dropped the plate and sat back, bumping into my Aunt Karen, who whispered, "I always thought something was off." I felt like the walls were closing in. Everyone was staring at Alan now, their expressions a mix of shock, fear, and disbelief. Alan's hands were shaking, and I could see the raw anger bubbling under his skin. "I found emails too," Alan continued, almost yelling now. "Messages between you and some companies, bills in my name, applications for credit cards. How could you? Why would you?" Mark ran a hand through his hair, his voice breaking slightly. "Alan, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just needed it." "Needed? Needed what, Mark? To ruin my credit before I even turned 20? To mess with my identity and possibly ruin my future?" Alan shouted. Tears were welling up in his eyes, but his voice was firm, like a teenager finally standing up to a lifetime of manipulation. The guests had stopped moving. Jenny's mom, Sharon, whispered something to Karen about calling the police. Mom was trembling, leaning against the wall like she might collapse. I felt my own chest tighten. I hadn't realised how much I'd underestimated the damage Mark had done. Alan dropped the folder onto the table. "I can't believe you, Uncle Mark. I trusted you. I thought family meant something." Mark looked at him, his face pale. I didn't think it would hurt anyone. I just needed help paying for stuff here." Alan cut him off with a bitter laugh. "Help? You stole my identity. This isn't just money, Mark. This is who I am." At that moment, the room felt frozen in a weird, unbearable tension. Even Jenny, who usually couldn't sit still for 5 minutes, was clutching her stomach nervously, the baby shower games completely forgotten. I realised then that the afternoon would never go back to normal. The air was thick with accusation, betrayal, and the realisation that a family secret, one I never even suspected, had just been ripped wide open. The room stayed tense for what felt like forever, but in reality, it was maybe 30 seconds, long enough for everyone to realise that nothing could be unsaid. Jenny had sunk into a chair, covering her mouth with her hands, eyes wide like she was about to cry. Mom was pacing, muttering, "This can't be happening, not here, not today." Alan, still holding the folder, finally looked at me. I didn't even know where to start, he said quietly, his anger giving way to exhaustion. "I didn't want to ruin the baby shower, but it's out now." My Aunt Karen stepped forward, voice trembling but sharp. "Mark, you need to explain yourself, right now. Everyone deserves the truth." Mark ran a shaky hand over his face. I thought I was helping the family. Things were tight, and I didn't know how else to cover bills and expenses. I never meant for Alan to find out like this. "Helping?" Alan shouted again, pointing at him. "You've been living my life while I'm out here trying to get through college. I can't even open a bank account without worrying it's being drained." Jenny finally found her voice, though it was soft and shaky. "Dad, I mean Uncle Mark, how long has this been going on?" Mark swallowed hard, avoiding eye contact with everyone. At least 2 years, maybe longer. I didn't realize how much it would affect him. There was a collective intake of breath from everyone in the room. Mum's face went pale, her hand flying to her mouth. 2 years? Mark, do you even understand what you've done? Alan shook his head in disbelief. I trusted you. I trusted you more than anyone. And you stole my identity, my grades, my credit, my social security. It's all tied to you somehow. His voice cracked, and I could see tears welling up, but he refused to back down. Hearn spoke up, a little sterner now. Alan, you did the right thing by confronting us. Mark, you're going to have to make this right. There's no way around it. Mark finally nodded, looking utterly defeated. I know. I'll fix everything. I'll call the banks, the companies, whatever it takes. I'm so sorry, Alan. I never wanted to hurt you like this. Jenny was still pale, but now her hands were shaking. And the baby shower? This was supposed to be happy. My baby. Mom sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. Maybe we should pause the shower. This is a lot. Alan's shoulders slumped. Fight drained out of him suddenly, leaving only the weight of betrayal. Yeah, let's stop. I can't celebrate right now. I need to breathe and make sure my life is still mine. The room was quiet except for the soft whimpers of some of the younger cousins and the faint sound of balloons brushing against the ceiling. For the first time, I realized just how much damage a secret even one hidden in plain sight could do to a family. Alan sank onto the couch, still gripping the folder. I sat next to him, trying to offer some comfort. It's not your fault, I said quietly. We'll fix this. We'll get through it. He nodded, but his eyes were distant. I could tell he was already thinking about the long road ahead, banks, legal papers, police reports, the whole nightmare. And all of it had started right here, the baby shower that was supposed to be about joy. After the initial shock, things didn't get better, they just simmered. Most of the guests had quietly left, offering awkward hugs and muttering, "I'm so sorry," as they filed out. Jenny stayed behind, hovering near her mom, still trying to process what had just happened. Mom retreated to the kitchen, muttering to herself, while Karen hovered near Alan like a protective shield. Alan had the folder spread open on the coffee table, papers scattered everywhere. He was meticulously going through each one, making notes on his phone, trying to piece together how deep Mark's identity theft went. I sat across from him, feeling helpless but needing to be there. Do you want me to help call the banks? I asked. Alan shook his head. Not yet. I need to understand everything first. If I call them now, I'll just be panicking instead of thinking clearly. Mark slouched in the armchair, looking like a man caught in a storm he had no idea how to navigate. Alan, I'll do whatever you want. Just tell me what to do, he said quietly. You should have thought about that 2 years ago. Alan snapped, his voice sharper than I'd ever heard. You've ruined my life, Mark. How do I even know you won't do it again? Mom intervened, placing a hand on Alan's shoulder. Sweetie, he's your uncle. He'll make it right. We can fix this together. Alan looked at her, eyes hard. Mom, it's not that simple. You don't understand that this isn't just money or bills. This is my identity. Everything about me has been compromised. Jenny finally spoke, her voice trembling. Dad, I mean Uncle Mark, why didn't you tell anyone? Why keep it a secret? Mark swallowed. I thought I was protecting family. I didn't realize it would hurt Alan like this. I thought I could handle it. Handle it? Alan said, standing up, pacing now. You've been living my life. Do you know how terrifying it is to realize someone else has control over your finances, your accounts, even your social security? I could have been ruined without even knowing it. Karen, always the pragmatic one, stepped forward. Alan, you're right, but yelling won't fix it. Let's figure out the next steps. Police, banks, identity recovery services. We handled this systematically. Alan paused, taking a deep breath, his chest heaving. Yeah, okay, I'll need help, but Mark, you're in so much trouble. And I don't mean just legally. You've lost trust here. You need to understand that. Mark's face fell, and he nodded slowly. I do, I really do. For a moment, the room was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Alan's hands were still shaking as he sorted the papers. I could see the weight of responsibility settling on him. Not just the baby shower disaster, not just Mark's betrayal, but the years of stolen identity he now had to reclaim. Jenny moved closer to Alan and whispered, I'm here if you need me. He nodded, grateful for the support. Mom sighed, finally sitting down with a cup of tea, looking exhausted. It wasn't a happy baby shower anymore. Not by a long shot. But in some weird way, there was clarity now. Secrets had been exposed, identities had been stolen, but at least the truth was out. And sometimes, as messed up as it sounds, that's the first step toward fixing things. The next morning, Alan was up before anyone else. I found him in the living room, still surrounded by papers and his laptop open, staring at a list of banks, credit bureaus, and government websites. He looked like he hadn't slept at all, eyes bloodshot, hair a mess. I can't believe this, he muttered, scrolling through the documents. 2 years, and all this crap under my name. I could have been in debt before even realizing it. I sat down next to him. You're going to fix it. It'll take time, but we'll make sure everything is yours again. Alan ran a hand through his hair, groaning. I know, but Mark, he's supposed to be family, and now it's like I don't even know him. I mean, so you know how violating it feels when someone lies your life behind your back. Before I could answer, Mom walked in, holding a folder of her own. Alan and I have been on the phone with some identity protection services. They can guide us through freezing accounts, changing social security info if needed, and reporting fraud to the authorities. You're not alone in this. Alan took a shaky breath, finally letting some of the tension go. Thanks, Mom, I can't believe it all happened at the baby shower, of all places. It was supposed to be fun, not the nightmare, Jenny finished softly, stepping into the room. I'm so sorry, Alan. I never knew. I feel like I failed as a daughter to notice what was happening. You didn't fail, Alan said, managing a small, bitter smile. None of you did. It was just Mark. Mark appeared in the doorway, looking pale and defeated. Alan, I've started calling the banks. I've frozen the accounts I can, and I'm prepared to cooperate with anything you need. I know I've betrayed your trust, and I'll do everything to fix it. Alan looked at him, eyes narrowing. It's not just about the banks, Mark. It's about my identity, my autonomy, my life. I don't know if I can ever trust you the same way again. Mark nodded slowly, voice quiet. I understand. I'm ready to accept the consequences. I never wanted to hurt you. I only made terrible choices. We spent the next few hours making calls, documenting accounts, and compiling evidence of the identity theft. Alan took the lead, refusing to let anyone else make decisions for him. It was exhausting, but also empowering. I could see him reclaiming control of his life piece by piece. By evening, we had made some progress, most accounts frozen, credit bureaus notified, and a plan to report Mark to the authorities if necessary. Alan finally leaned back on the couch, looking both relieved and worn out. I don't feel victorious yet, he admitted quietly, but at least I've got a plan. At least I know what I'm up against. Mom sat next to him, putting an arm around his shoulders. You're strong, Alan. We'll help you get through this, one step at a time. I realised then that the baby shower, as ruined as it had been, had also revealed a harsh truth, one that would take time to heal. But for the first time, Alan wasn't just a victim. He was in control, ready to fight for his identity and his life, even if it meant confronting the people he loved most. The days after the baby shower were tense, but strangely focused. Alan had transformed from the angry, tramping kid we'd seen that afternoon into someone methodical and determined. Every morning, he dove into emails, forums, and phone calls, and every evening, he debriefed the family on what had been done. He was relentless, and it was exhausting for everyone around him. Mark, meanwhile, stayed mostly in the background, looking like a man on thin ice. He offered apologies, tried to help with the paperwork, and even sat in on calls to banks and credit bureaus, but the tension was palpable. Every glance between Alan and Mark was a mix of anger and caution, and the rest of us walked on eggshells. Jenny finally broke the silence one evening. Alan, I just want you to know, I'm proud of how you're handling this, she said quietly. She had been surprisingly mature, offering support without getting in the middle of the argument. I can't imagine what it feels like, but I'm here if you need backup. Alan nodded, grateful. Thanks, Jenny. It's just overwhelming sometimes. Every time I think we've got everything under control, I find another account, another piece of evidence. It's like uncovering a trail of breadcrumbs leading back to him. He gave Mark a pointed look. And it's all your breadcrumbs. Mark flinched, and for a moment the room was quiet except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Mom sighed heavily. We'll get through this as a family, but Alan, you need to make sure you take care of yourself too. This isn't just about paperwork, it's about your peace of mind. Alan leaned back, eyes tired but determined. I know, I'm trying. I'm just angry that someone I trusted so much could do something so wrong. It was during one of those tense evenings that Alan made a decision. I've called a lawyer, he announced. We're going to make this official. Mark needs to face the legal consequences. I don't want him jailed forever, but he has to understand the seriousness of what he's done. Mark's face went pale. Alan, please, I'll do anything. I'll repay everything, fix every account. Alan's gaze was firm. It's not just about money, Mark. It's about trust, about respecting people's lives. You've broken that, and now it has to be made right. The rest of the family watched quietly, understanding that this was Alan's choice to stand. It wasn't easy, and it certainly wasn't fun, but it was necessary. The baby shower disaster had evolved into something much bigger, reckoning. By the weekend, Alan had begun the legal process, filing reports and submitting evidence. He was exhausted, but there was a strange sense of relief in taking action. We all rallied around him, offering support wherever we could. Mom even helped draft letters to creditors, while Jenny handled communications with some of Mark's other contacts. For the first time in days, Alan sat in the living room without papers spread out everywhere. He looked at us, a small tired smile on his face. I feel like I finally started to take my life back, he said softly. It wasn't over. It wouldn't be over for a long time, but Alan had reclaimed a piece of himself that Mark had stolen. And for now, that was enough. The final confrontation happened a few weeks later, in Mark's small, dimly lit office at his house. The rest of the family waited in the living room, tense but ready to witness the reckoning. Alan walked in with a folder under his arm, lawyer on speakerphone, and a steely expression that made it clear this wasn't a casual discussion. Mark, Alan began, voice steady, this ends today. We've gathered everything, accounts, emails, utility bills, everything. The banks are notified, the authorities are informed, and the legal process is underway. You need to take responsibility. Mark swallowed hard. Alan, I'll do anything to fix this, please. I didn't realize. You should have realized, Mark, Alan interrupted, his jaw tight. I trusted you. You violated that trust. It's not just numbers on a page, it's my life, and now you have to face the consequences. The lawyer, calm but firm, clarified the next steps. Mark, you'll need to provide full disclosure to all institutions involved, sign restitution agreements, and cooperate fully with any legal action. Failure to comply could result in criminal charges. Alan looked at him, nodding. I just want my identity back. I want to know that you won't ever touch it again. That's non-negotiable. Mark nodded silently, tears brimming in his eyes. I understand. I'm so sorry, Alan. I truly am. I've made a terrible mistake. The intensity of the moment was heavy, but Alan remained composed. He handed Mark a copy of all the evidence. Here, everything. Take it. Do what you need to do. This is your chance to make things right. Outside the office, the rest of the family exhaled collectively. Mom held down tightly, whispering, I'm so proud of you. You handled this with more courage than I could ever imagine. Jenny stepped forward, brushing a tear from her cheek. You did the right thing, Alan. You protected yourself, and even though it hurts, you stood up to someone who should have protected you. Hearn nodded, arms crossed but eyes soft. It's a hard lesson, but you made sure the family won't have to go through this again. You've set boundaries and taken back control. Alan finally leaned back on the couch, the weight of weeks of stress beginning to lift. I can't say I feel completely okay yet, he admitted, but at least I know I'm taking my life back. That's a start. The baby shower that had once been filled with pastel balloons and cupcakes now felt like a distant memory, replaced by the reality of family betrayal, secrets, and stolen identities. But in the chaos, we found clarity. By the end of the week, Alan had begun to restore his accounts, monitor his credit, and legally bind Mark to restitution agreements. The family, though shaken, began to heal. We laughed cautiously, ate dinner together again, and cautiously trusted each other not blindly, but deliberately. Alan's courage had turned a nightmare into a story of resilience, proving that even in the worst betrayal, reclaiming your identity both literally and emotionally is possible. I know no one will ever forget the baby shower that started it all. At least we knew the truth was finally out in the open, and Alan was no longer a victim of someone else's choice.